Former CFTC Chairman Gary Gensler is filing an amicus brief arguing Congress did not intend to make the CFTC the nationwide regulator of sports betting when it passed the Dodd-Frank Act in 2010. Gary Gensler served as CFTC chairman under President Obama when Dodd-Frank was passed, and he later served as SEC chair, as you know, and was a frequent guest under President Biden. Good to see you this morning. You're in town.
Terrific to be with you, Joe, Kelly.
How are those courtside seats you had last night at the game? Is that why you're in town?
Boy, that would have been exciting. I mean, can you just imagine with 1.2 seconds left, that little tip in?
On his fingertip. I mean, he barely was able to reach it.
Yeah, and when it was 29 points away, I went on Polymarket. I have to admit it. I went on, I said, and right then it was trading at 93 cents to 7 cents.
Wow. It was.
Yeah, and then, it came the other way.
But you didn't place a bet?
No, I did not. I have no economic interest in any.
But off camera, you said you can understand why people like to do this, right?
Look, it's since antiquity. We humans like to wager on sports. I think at the core of this issue is, did Congress in 2010 say, no, none of the states can regulate this. It's going to this little small agency that I once was proud to run? And the answer is categorically no. If we'd asked Senator Harry Reid, who was then the majority leader, the Nevada Senator Harry Reid, we're going to take this and move this to the federal government, he would have thrown me out of his office.
Right. It's not staffed. Was never designed.
It's not.
Can't handle it.
It's an agency that was set up in the 1970s around corn, wheat, agricultural derivatives, and then energy and interest rate derivatives. Important stuff, really important stuff. But to think that you're going to regulate millions of transactions of whether somebody's going to hit a three-point play.
Yeah. So what is you're going to file an amicus brief?
Later today in the Sixth Circuit.
In the Sixth Circuit, saying what?
Well, in essence, I want to tell the story of why Congress did what they did. Millions of people were out of work. Millions of people had lost their homes. And there was a desire to cover what was called the credit default swap market and the interest swap market, not sports betting, and tell that in a way courts like to hear it, looking at the text, looking at the words. And I think that's what I want to do. And I want to respect Harry Reid, too. I know you and I might differ on Harry.
I told you I was still mad at Harry and I'm not necessarily a Mitt Romney fan, but to say he never paid any taxes, and then after he loses, and they prove that he did pay taxes, and then Harry Reid says, well, we won, didn't we? He knew the whole time.
But to think that under the U.S. Senate at that time, when nobody was talking about sports betting, I testified in Congress 54 times, and literally Republicans and Democrats alike, nobody said, oh, you know what? Gensler, I think we should give your small agency under President Obama authority to regulate sports betting.
Even this recent kind of like the rise of all these platforms comes from the CFTC dropping lawsuits against them. I mean, it's not as if that there was some big rule change. So the CFTC now has come out with this big proposal, I'm sure you've seen it, 200-some pages, where they talk about what they think should and shouldn't be permitted. They would permit betting on outcomes, maybe not so much betting on injuries, things that can be more manipulated. Is that a step in the right direction?
No. What they're trying to do is to, one, say that they have authority over sports betting, which I don't think they do. That will play out all the way to the Supreme Court, of course. And two, they're trying to reverse a rule we voted unanimously back in like 2011, unanimously to prohibit agreements, contracts, or transactions, listen, on assassination, war, terrorism, gaming, or unlawful acts. Those 5 categories were placed there in Congress, and it was placed there because most members of Congress thought there shouldn't be contracts on assassination, war, and terrorism. And interestingly, Congress said, put gaming in there, too. There shouldn't be contracts on that.
Right, they're now arguing that gaming is a different definition or something.
Yeah, and so we unanimously voted on that 14, 15 years ago. And the CFTC is saying, well, let's reverse that. But I don't even think they have authority over sports betting at all.
And 70 to 80, I didn't realize that, 70 to 80% is sports betting.
Yeah, if you look at Kalshi and you look at Polymarket, that's where the revenues are, and they're competing with FanDuel and DraftKings.
Right.
Like if this is regulated at the states where I believe it is, people could still bet on FanDuel and DraftKings or at the casino.
Yeah. So would the CFTC try to say to the states that they're not able to do that?
There's about 30 lawsuits going on right now in this country, and the CFTC has done something pretty unusual. They've preemptively filed suits against various states, Arizona, New York, and other states. But interestingly, 39 states joined together. You might call them red states, purple states, and blue states, joined together last week and filed together an amicus brief in the same Sixth Circuit case that I'm filing this. I've never done this before. I'm doing it really just out of respect for everybody. And what we did 15 years ago was it was about these credit default swaps and interest rate swaps.
The world according to how you think it should be ordered. There is a place for sports betting, but regulated by whom?
Well, it's how it is ordered. It's regulated by the states.
The states have a lot of money. The CFTC doesn't have the resources.
That's right. The CFTC has shrunk, but it's maybe 400 people. It's actually just recently, this past week, has put out another downsizing. And then the states have all this revenue. Let the states do it. And by the way, some states prohibit it. 11 states prohibit it completely. Some states say, listen, you can bet if you turn 21, not 18. And here the CFTC is saying anybody can do it in all 50 states, and you can do it even if you're 18. And you know, there are legitimate concerns and debates about addiction. There's legitimate concerns about whether this is good for kids to do, the dopamine rush of it all, so to speak. Let the states sort that out.
Do you think we've got a handle on the non-sports?
No. Look, Joe, you've raised a really good point. Prediction markets were raised many years ago by the Defense Research Bureau called DARPA inside the Defense Department. And they said, maybe we should have some contracts on terrorism, war, assassination. And it got shot down in 24 hours. The George W. Bush administration said, well, they disavowed that. And the reason is that it's pretty tricky stuff to say, let's have a contract on whether you're going to take out Maduro in Venezuela, whether you're going to take out.
Why did DARPA want that in the first place? It
was right after 9/11, and DARPA said, well, maybe we could learn something, because somebody who knows what somebody in that era, a bad guy in the Middle East was going to do, maybe it would leak into the markets. And but here's the thing. I don't think you can really protect the integrity of the underlying market. It's really hard to protect the underlying integrity of sports. But here, can you protect
sports and everything else in the world?
That's right. Can you do it on what you call political events or geopolitical? Will somebody leak something out of the Situation Room? So when I was at the CFTC and working on that Dodd-Frank bill, we went to Congress and we said, do you know that movie, Trading Places? Do you know Eddie Murphy movie? Where he was a trader and he got some information
the Duke brothers.
That's right. He got some information from the Department of Agriculture on the orange crop report, and he traded on frozen orange juice futures. I asked the staff, I said, is that illegal? They said, well, no, not really. I said, we should ask Congress for a provision. We called it the Eddie Murphy provision. Right. Congress put it in. It's now is illegal to trade on inside information from the government. Yeah. I think Congress could maybe go further.
But this is about companies now, too. I mean, look at the Google guy who was placing all these bets because he was aware of what was going on inside the... So now Kalshi is going to require you to sort of say what your company is when you sign up, but I'm not sure if that goes far enough.
Yeah, it's very hard to ensure that there's no insider trading in the stock market. But in these markets, it's so much harder. There's so many more contracts. There's not like a issuer, you know, those fiduciary duties. You're just some political consultant or somebody at Google that was on search. And so I also think Congress would be well advised to say, listen, nobody in the government should trade on these things. You're a congressional staffer.
Yep.
You're an executive branch or White House staffer.
They're working on that. I mean, yeah.
Let's get it over the line.
Yeah.